Good morning. Happy Thursday. I'm Amy Bennett and this is the AM show. Thank you so much for joining. I don't know why I did an intro like that. That was weird. I've never said it like that. I'm feeling like a little anxious. I started some new supplements and I don't know. I'm just feeling my body's just a little wacky this morning. Which I wanted to talk about. Yesterday I talked about going to the doctor yesterday, and I just wanted to tell you guys, because I told you I was going, that it went really, really well. First of all, she was a functional doctor, but she is also a trained OBGYN medical doctor. And she is now in a practice which is out of network, and so it's sort of like a wellness center-ish type thing. But what was amazing is I sat with her and just talked with her for an hour and a half. We just spread all my lab work that I've been getting done out on the table, and I asked all my questions, and we talked about all the problems, and I just felt so heard, and it was good. So here's the bottom line, and I won't go through all of it, but I'm in adrenal fatigue, which is why I'm so tired. My adrenals have given up. I have cortisol. I have almost zero cortisol levels. So like your cortisol is supposed to start up here today and then wind down. Mine is like this, and it kind of spikes a little bit and it goes. So that's why I'm so tired. So that, and she thinks I've got some iron stuff going on. So all that to say, I had gotten some lab work done, and they recommended, like, I don't know, probably 8 or 10 supplements to get my adrenal glands working again and properly and get everything balanced again. And it probably has come from stress. Stress can stress your adrenals. So probably, I mean, these last 4 years have been quite stressful, and I just think it's taken its toll, and so my adrenals are very sad. But there is hope. She thinks that within probably the next 2 to 3 months, we can get my adrenals working the way they need to be working, and then like not tailor off, that's not the right word, get off some of these supplements, because I'm taking like a lot, which right now, I added one more last night because I've been ordering things like from different places. I tried one and I feel like, it's like, you know, you had to get too much caffeine, which I haven't changed how much caffeine I've had. Actually, I've had less this morning than I normally do, and I'm feeling a little bit jittery. Anyway, this is not Amy's health record video. I just wanted to let you know it went really, really well. I really like my doctor. And if you're around the Charlotte area, her name is Dr. Amy Fletcher from Thrive Carolinas. And like I said, she's out of network. That's the bad thing. So you're gonna have to make it, it's like an investment. But I have been feeling so bad for so long that I'm kind of just willing to do whatever. So that's that. Okay, so today I ended up in Malachi. I know people just don't sort of end up in Malachi, but I have this book, I think it's called Praying for Your Kids or something. It's a book of like prayers for your kids in all sorts of like different areas. So like spouses, and wanting them like care about education, and caring about other people, and having good friendships, and having finding like their purpose in their job. Anyway, so I was reading one of them, and there was a verse in Malachi, so I was kind of like, I ended up there. That's how I ended up there. But I was caught by a phrase and a kind of a little section, which is how it always happens. It just is kind of like something highlights, and I just wanted to share it. So I am in Malachi 3, Malachi 3:16. So just to set this up a little bit, Malachi is the last book in the Old Testament, and he's the last prophet. So they completed the temple. They came back, they completed the temple. We have Ezra, we have Nehemiah, and then we have Malachi. And I don't know that by heart. I'm just looking at a little timeline at the front of my Bible, and that's why part of why I like this application study Bible, is because it tells me these things. And so the people had been, people had basically strayed, okay? And they were being unfaithful once again, and God was using Malachi to call them back. And this is where at the end, I love this section because it's called the faithful few, and it says, "Then those who feared the Lord talked with each other, and the Lord listened and heard. A scroll of remembrance was written in his presence concerning those who feared the Lord and honored his name. They will be mine, says the Lord Almighty, in the day when I make up my treasured possession. I will spare them, just as in compassion a man spares his son who serves him. And you will again see the distinction between the righteous and the wicked, between those who serve God and those who do not." And the thing that I was just caught is that there is a scroll of remembrance being written in God's presence. So I have so many questions about this. And the other way, I actually looked it up, and this kind of phrasing is used when God had told Moses, write this on a scroll for remembrance. He used this kind of phrasing when he was talking about that he had written the 10 Commandments on the tablets. So I don't know if it's really a scroll, if it was a book, what does that look like? I don't know, but it says that it was being written in his presence. Who's doing the writing? Who is standing in God's presence and writing down about the faithful few that they saw talking with one another? So there's just a picture of these people who have decided to be faithful to God, and they're talking with one another, and God is listening in to their conversation, and he is pleased. He hears and he is pleased, and he begins to say, I want to remember this. I want to remember this, and somebody write it down. And he gets somebody to write it down. I don't know if it's an angel. I don't know how that works in heaven. I assume it's in heaven. And God says, let's remember this. And I don't know, y'all, that is so cool to me. And I don't know what they're going to do with it. They talk about the scrolls that are and the seals that are in Revelation. Is that related to that? Is it related to the Lamb's Book of Life? Is that what this references to? If somebody has studied that, I would really like to know. I don't know. But here's the thing. When we are faithful to God, He sees it and He remembers it. And especially in this kind of culture that is going, this culture is going less Christian, right? Kind of like in this times, and they've forgotten, and it talks about how, they didn't give their tithe like they were supposed to. They were not following God's commands around marriage, and they just had kind of given up and forgotten God. And yet there's these faithful few, and I just think I want to be one of those faithful few, and I think you do too, right? Don't we want to be like the faithful few that stick together? And I just have to think these people that are meeting together, and God listens in here. I think of you guys, and I think of us every morning meeting together, and we have a heart to serve and please God, and that we're just coming together to talk about Him, and talk about how good He is, and talk about what He's doing, and talk about His Word, and I just love the idea that God might be listening in and taking note. Just as I'm sharing kind of my journal in the morning, maybe He's got a journal too and He's writing it down. And I don't know, that just it kind of touched me this morning. And I just want to call all of us to be the faithful few, and not be, if you will, kind of the manic multitude. I love alliteration, so let's go with that. Do we want to be the manic multitude that is the big group that is, so distracted and doing whatever feels good, doing whatever the culture says to do? Or do we want to be the faithful few that are faithful to God, that are meeting together? They haven't given up meeting together, and they're talking about Him. And God sees that, even though it feels like everyone around us has forgotten God, and it seems silly and old-fashioned and a little crazy for what we believe and how we live our life. That God sees, and He recognizes our faithfulness. And so I don't know, do we want to be, I guess that's the question, do we want to be part of the manic multitude or the faithful few? Manic multitude or faithful few? And I know if you're meeting here with me this morning, you want to be part of the faithful few. And so just encourage that we stay that even today, that what would it look like to be part of the faithful few today? What would it look like to refocus even today? And I mean, we talk about this, a lot here. It's just today, we have today. What would it look like to be part of the faithful few today? That we read His Word, that we pray about the things that we're worried about, that we are aware as we go about our day, ways that we connect with people, share the gospel if He gives us an open door to do that. How can we love on people? How can we serve people? get our eyes focused outward and all the things that he has planned. I mean, he's got plans for us today. That every day. Like I wake up and like, oh my goodness, God has plans for me today, and I don't want to miss them. I don't want to miss them. And you know, he's watching, and he's taking notes. I love that. God's watching and taking notes. So let me encourage you with that today, that we stay faithful and we be part of that faithful few. Okay. All right. I still feel kind of like, whoo, my body is like sort of feeling like, I don't know, feeling weird. So anyway, yeah, I think that's it. It should be a pretty, one more day. We have tomorrow, the kids get out of school. We've got some award ceremony that I'm attending today. We've got small group tonight, which I always love. If you're not part of a small group through a church or something, please do that. I mean, even when I feel so tired at the end of the week and I'm like, oh, like, I don't know, like I'm always so thankful to meet with people in person, and you know, sometimes just to laugh with other people, to share our concerns. And oh my goodness, it's so important that we get face to face with people. Like, this is great, I love meeting with you guys here, but get some face to face time with some people. That came out of nowhere, but maybe that's an encouragement for somebody that needs to join a small group with their church. Okay, so I think that's going to be it for today. I hope you guys have a wonderful Thursday, and we'll see you back tomorrow. Bye.